Inside the church, the suspect shooting into the church even before he was inside. Bullets coming through the walls. Families, children on the floor under the pews. Also tonight, the stunning number of missed warning signs. The gunman escaping a mental facility in the past. He threatened military supervisors. He was convicted of domestic violence. Tonight, President Trump says extreme vetting would not have made a difference. Breaking news as we come on the air involving Harvey Weinstein tonight. What the NYPD believes is now coming. Also just in, the death of a former baseball star, the plane crash. The state trooper shot on the highway today during a traffic stop, the hunt that followed. And the teacher suspended tonight after telling a student, quote, "That's how people like you get shot."
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Tuesday night, and we are just back from Texas tonight, where we have learned a chilling new detail. Authorities say that gunman was at that very church just days before. The sheriff telling us the pastor had a bad feeling. The gunman beginning his rampage outside the church before he even entered. And tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from survivors inside the church. ABC senior national correspondent Matt Gutman leading us off from Texas.
As authorities continue to process the scene at the First Baptist Church, tonight we learned that the day of the massacre wasn't Devin Kelley's first time at the church. Officials tell us Kelley attended the church's fall festival on Halloween, October 31st. And when he came back on Sunday, he wore a skeleton mask over his face, blasting off hundreds of rounds in the deadliest shooting in Texas history.
There's a dead body right there.
The Wilson County Sheriff's Office arrived within four minutes. I can tell you 4 minutes is a long time during an active shooter situation.
For the approximately 50 churchgoers, it felt like an eternity.
Was he aiming at them, or was he just
aiming
spraying?
at them? Shooting them, ta 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 ta.
Rosa Solis was among those inside for services when the bullets started coming through the windows and walls. She's now among the wounded, starting to arrive home, weighed down by sounds she can't shake.
People screaming and people crying and, "Mama, where are you, Mama?" The little kids.
Was anybody trying to get away? Was there anywhere to go?
No, there wasn't nowhere to go.
You were all trapped.
We were trapped inside.
There was no mercy, said Solis.
When he started firing the shots, everybody was screaming. Everybody, but when they saw him go in, nobody said nothing. Not a word. Like I told my sister, you could hear a pin drop in there. Quiet, real quiet.
So the only sound was the sound of the bullets?
Yeah. Him shooting the people.
How many times did he say, "You're gonna die"?
One time. Everybody's gonna die.
So Solis played dead among the dead, as did David Brown's mother, shot in the legs.
He just kept going back and forth.
Shooting everybody, yes. She laid on the ground the whole time and just saw his boots pacing, walking up and down the aisles.
Police say when Kelley ran out of ammunition, he left, and that's when neighbor Stephen Williford opened fire on him.
I'm no hero. I am not. I just wish I could have gotten there faster.
Just incredible, those tales from inside the church, Matt, and Stephen there saying he just wishes he got there sooner. He was reunited with the other hero driver. We're going to have more on that in a moment. But first, Matt, you talked with the sheriff who said something was off when the suspect visited that church just a few days before?
That's right, David. I just got off with the sheriff, and he said the pastor told him he had an instinctive dislike for Devin Kelley when he met him at that church Halloween function. He thought maybe he was dangerous, but then he thought to himself, how do you turn someone away from your own church? And it's chilling to think that just days later, Devin Kelley would kill many of the people he met there. David.
Matt Gutman leading us off again tonight. Matt, thank you. Next here to the investigation and so many red flags. The Pentagon also launching an investigation tonight. This gunman was convicted of domestic violence in a military court. He escaped a mental health treatment facility. He threatened military officers. And after all of that, how was he still able to get those guns? Here's ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
In April of 2016, Devin Kelley walked into the store in San Antonio and bought the Ruger assault rifle used to kill all those parishioners. An FBI background check came back clean. That should never have happened.
I can tell you what is required, and there was nothing in our databases that precluded him from purchasing a firearm.
Tonight, new details revealing Kelley was even more unstable and potentially dangerous than we knew. raising more questions about how he was able to buy multiple guns. Newly released police records show Kelly escaping from a New Mexico mental health facility in June of 2012. The police report noting Kelly suffered from mental disorders, had been caught sneaking firearms onto Holloman Air Force Base, and was attempting to carry out death threats made on his military chain of command. The escape came as Kelly was facing charges for punching and choking his wife and hitting his infant stepson on the head and body with a force likely to produce death or grievous bodily harm. That domestic abuse conviction should have been shared by the Air Force with the FBI, blocking him from buying 4 guns.
We've taken responsibility, and we're going to find out what happened and fix it.
The Pentagon now reviewing what went wrong and whether other cases are also falling through the cracks. Tonight, as investigators dissect every detail of the killer's life, the FBI acknowledging they've yet to unlock Kelly's encrypted smartphone.
I can assure you that we're working very hard to get into the phone.
That's the same problem that frustrated the FBI in the San Bernardino massacre for weeks.
Pierre Thomas with us live again tonight. And Pierre, the question concerning many, if he got through the cracks, this suspect, how many others could there be?
David, some senators suspect the numbers could be high and are pushing for specifics. There's worry that many agencies have not been pushing these domestic abuse convictions into the system for gun background checks. David?
Pierre Thomas, our thanks to you. President Trump, meanwhile, in South Korea, overseas, faced now with the worst mass shooting at a church here at home ever. Last week, after the deadly truck attack here in New York City, the president within hours calling for extreme vetting. He was asked today if extreme vetting on guns would have caught this guy. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl traveling with the president.
Traveling in Asia, the president was asked whether, in light of the Texas massacre, he would favor the kind of extreme vetting he wants for immigration for those who want to buy guns. The answer, a definitive no.
If you did what you're suggesting, there would have been no difference 3 days ago, and you might not have had that very brave person who happened to have a gun or a rifle in his truck go out and shoot him and hit him and neutralize him.
The president insisted tougher background checks could have made the Texas church shooting worse. And on the North Korea threat, a dramatic change in tone from the president, even expressing hope about talks with North Korea, something he recently called a waste of time.
I really believe that it makes sense for North Korea to come to the table and to make a deal that's good for the people of North Korea and the people of the world. I do see certain movement, yes, but let's see what happens.
Quite a shift for the president, who not long ago said this.
They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
And while he continued to boast about America's military dominance, he acknowledged war would be bad for everyone.
We have many things happening that we hope, in fact, I'll go a step further. We hope to God we never have to use.
Jonathan Karl with us tonight from Seoul. And John, the president in Asia, of course, dealing with North Korea there, but also the mass shooting here at home. And John, when it comes to this suspect, despite that domestic violence conviction, that escape from a mental facility, the president insisting that extreme vetting would not have worked?
Yeah, David, you heard him say it, but the bottom line is there are bipartisan calls in Congress to strengthen the background check system, including John Cornyn, a prominent Republican in the Senate, saying that he wants a new law strengthening the current background check system. David?
Jonathan Karl reporting on the president's trip in Asia. John, our thanks to you. And there are also major developments in the Russia investigation tonight. A former Trump campaign advisor now changing his story in testimony under oath. What he now acknowledges. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross.
Tonight, the web of lies, half-truths, and memory failure involving Russia and the Trump campaign is growing larger. The latest thread, Carter Page, and the disclosure of his congressional testimony about a trip to Moscow to give a speech during the campaign. Page told me he never talked about the campaign with anyone in the Kremlin on the trip.
Did you meet with anybody in the Kremlin and discuss the presidential race?
Not one word.
Not one word.
And he said much the same to George Stephanopoulos.
I said hello briefly to one individual who is a board member of the New Economic School where I gave my speech.
But Page, under oath, has now admitted that one individual was, in fact, the Russian Deputy Prime Minister, Arkady Dvorkovich, and that Page later wrote emails to campaign officials about the meeting, promising incredible insights and outreach from senior members of the presidential administration in Moscow.
Those accounts are directly contradictory, so you have to conclude that what he was saying publicly simply wasn't true.
The president has denied again and again anyone in his campaign had contact with the Russian government.
No, nobody that I know of. Nobody
so you're not aware of any contacts during the course of the election?
How many times do I have to answer this question?
But Page testified he was in direct contact with at least 4 senior officials of the Trump campaign, either before or after the Moscow trip. Then Senator Jeff Sessions and campaign aides Corey Lewandowski, J.D. Gordon, and Hope Hicks, now the White House communications director, traveling with the president this week, seen here at the state dinner in Japan. And David, with Carter Page's admission, we now count at least 9 figures in the Trump campaign who've met with the Russians, including Attorney General Jeff Sessions, Donald Trump Jr., son-in-law Jared Kushner, campaign chairman Paul Manafort, and campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, who has pleaded guilty to lying about it, the first criminal conviction in the Russia investigation, David.
Brian Ross with us again tonight. Brian, thank you. Next this evening, it is hard to believe, but it was just 1 year ago. Voters went to the polls choosing between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Tonight, 2 governors' races being watched very closely. And here's ABC's chief national correspondent, Tom Llamas.
Tonight, all eyes on Virginia. The race may be between Republican Ed Gillespie and the Lieutenant Governor, Democrat Ralph Northam, a test of President Trump's influence. Many see the Virginia election as a bellwether for the midterm elections next year, leading Democrats busy on the trail in Virginia and the president busy on Twitter. Tweeting from South Korea today, Ralph Northam will allow crime to be rampant in Virginia. He's weak on crime, weak on our great vets, anti-Second Amendment, even though Northam is a veteran who served in Desert Storm.
We need healers, and that's a doctor to come in and heal the wounds in this country right now and not be someone that promotes hatred and bigotry.
As for Gillespie, who ran the Republican National Committee, he chose not to appear with the president on the campaign trail, something he didn't want to talk about last night.
Is there a reason why you didn't campaign with the president?
Thank you so much for being out here.
And is there a reason why you didn't campaign with the president?
And in New Jersey, another big race and the end of the Chris Christie era. In the race to replace him, the Democrat far ahead. And today, a vintage Christie moment.
The easiest thing in the world is to stand where you stand, and stand on the sidelines and critique.
Classic Chris Christie. Back here in Virginia, President Trump may not be on the ballot, but early exit polls show he and his policies are having a major impact. More than 30% of voters tell us today they came out to vote to show opposition to the president. David?
All right, Tom Llamas, you'll keep us posted into the night. Tom, thank you. We are also following a breaking headline involving Harvey Weinstein this evening. The NYPD now believing the DA may present evidence to a grand jury, and here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Tonight, police sources say the Manhattan District Attorney plans to present its case against Harvey Weinstein to a grand jury. At the center of the case, Boardwalk Empire actress Paz de la Huerta, who claims Weinstein assaulted her twice in 2010.
She put forth a credible and detailed narrative to us. We have an actual case here.
And now a scathing article published in The New Yorker with allegations of just how far Weinstein went to silence his accusers, reportedly paying spies to investigate their personal lives.
What this story pulls back the curtain on is a set of tools that I truly did not know were available to the most powerful men in this country when they are bent on stopping allegations against them.
Contributor Ronan Farrow alleges that Weinstein hired elite security agencies to gain and compile information to discredit his accusers before their allegations were made public. According to the article, 2 investigators from Black Cube, a company run by former Israeli intelligence, approached and became friendly with actress Rose McGowan, one disguising herself as a women's rights advocate, pressing McGowan for information. But according to Farrow, that woman is actually a former officer from the Israeli Defense Forces who had been secretly recording her conversations and allegedly reporting back to Weinstein's team.
Rose McGowan said, "Everybody lied to me." She said it was like the movie Gaslight. She said that she was living for a year in a world of funhouse mirrors.
And Lindsay's with us now. Any comment from Harvey Weinstein's team?
Yes, David. His spokesperson says it's a fiction to suggest that any individuals were targeted or suppressed at any time. And as for that company, Black Cube, they say it's their policy never to discuss clients with any third party, but they say they operate with high moral standards and in full compliance with the law. And the Manhattan District Attorney saying tonight they still have not decided definitively.
Keeping it close to the vest. All right, Lindsay, thank you. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Tuesday. Breaking now, the former baseball star killed. The deadly plane crash. His plane found in the Gulf off Florida. Details after the break. Also, the shootout at an American highway, the state trooper shot, and the hunt that followed. Next this evening, the former baseball star killed in a plane crash off Florida. And here's ABC's Victor Akendo.
Tonight, one of the best pitchers of his generation and likely future Hall of Famer, Roy Doc Halladay, killed when his single-engine plane crashed into the water off the coast of Florida.
We know Roy as a person, as a caring husband who loved his wife, Brandy. He loved his two boys tremendously.
The 8-time All-Star and 2-time Cy Young winner played 16 seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays and Philadelphia Phillies. He retired from the big leagues 4 years ago with this big playoff no-hitter. And this perfect game on his resume, done in the same season.
Spins, fires, a perfect game!
After leaving the game, he took up flying, frequently posting photos and videos from the skies.
I grew up around airplanes.
This video from the manufacturer's website shows Halladay inside the Icon A5 plane. He was flying alone when his plane went down. He was 40 years old.
David, the NTSB is investigating the crash. His former team saying that they're overcome with grief and numb. Major League Baseball shocked by the news. David?
Victor, thanks. When we come back, the state trooper shot and then the manhunt and the teacher's shootout on a highway in Pennsylvania. Police say a state trooper was shot 3 times by a driver during a traffic stop on Route 33 in Plainfield Township. A second trooper returning fire, wounding the gunman. The suspect driving himself to the hospital. He was arrested there. The trooper is in critical but stable condition tonight. The teacher under investigation in Georgia. Paul Hagen, a physics teacher at Rockdale Career Academy, accused of threatening one of his African-American students for laughing in class.
Don't smile at me, man. Okay? That's how people like to get shot. I think by the time you're 21, somebody's supposed to slap your head. And it might be even one that does.
That teacher placed on administrative leave tonight. And Twitter is giving everyone more room this evening. The company officially doubling the number of characters that you can tweet to 280 now. Tweet me. When we come back here tonight, we do have news coming in. This is a small community.
The mass shooting in Texas. David Muir with the heroes and first responders.
Good evening.
The truck attack in New York. The only anchor with the NYPD at the scene. The only anchor at the fires in California with survivors in Las Vegas. World News Tonight is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
Finally tonight in Texas, a hug seen by the whole community. Overnight, a town united, arm in arm at a vigil in Sutherland Springs. Meredith Cooper and Yvette Gonzalez comforting one another. 9-year-old Sophia Martinez offering a prayer. That hero, Stephen Williford, who tried to take down the suspect, meeting up with Johnny Langendorf. That driver, they chased the suspect together. A hug amid so much heartbreak.
Mr. Williford, I believe he's a hero. How can you not love that guy? You know, that guy did what he knew needed to be done.
We saw it firsthand, everyone in the town thanking both of them.
God bless you.
Johnny told me he's no hero. They did what they needed to do.
I mean, have you been able to wrap your head around?
It's devastating. It really is. It's a tough blow to anyone involved, the whole community. I mean, these are friends, these are family.
And tonight, an update on that 5-year-old boy shot 5 times, Ryland Ward. Hit in the arm, the leg, the stomach. He's in the hospital in stable condition tonight. His mom and dad right by his side. Their family's GoFundMe page now raising more than $63,000 since we first told you about Ryland last night.